Comeback for Vasilev and Lukic! A banger of a strike for Jovan Lukic's first MLS goal!
It's fallen out to Westfield! Oh, wow! He's nearly taken the roof of the net off! Philadelphia pounce again!
Who gets his goal on his Union debut? The record signing! Off and running in his first appearance for the club!
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. Dude, I don't know why this keeps happening. I did not mute myself this time. The StreamYard did. I did not mute myself. But whatever.
All right, from the top, Todd. From the top.
No, it doesn't matter because then we'd have to start the stream over. So that's so.
No. I want to hear Todd. We have to have the patented hello and welcome.
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, now I'm mad, dude, because I didn't even have it. I was going to come in with the intro and be like, dude, look, I didn't have it muted, and StreamYard apparently wants to mute my mic myself. I'm mad, dude. I'm mad. Don't even want to do the show anymore. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad people in the comment section are saying hello and welcome. I mean, maybe one of you guys can hop in here and do the show for me because, yeah, that was really disappointing. I was pumped. I was excited for that intro. And now this is back-to-back episodes that, okay, last week was on me. Now this week wasn't even on me. Like, all right, we're done 2 minutes into the show. So have a good show, Jose. But yes, just like the Philadelphia Union, I guess I'm off to a bad start. So I guess it rubs off on everybody for this bad form. But yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good night. Hopefully you guys are having a good weekend, a warm weekend, and we will take those type of weekends. And I know the next couple of days will still be in the 70s, at least down here in Maryland. I would imagine you guys probably are having similar weather up in PA. But you know, when the light show, and that was fantastic, by the way, from the Philadelphia Union, the light show and the good weather are the only positives that you can talk about from a game against San Jose. Yeah, I think that tells you everything you need to know, Jose, about the game. But now that we're back on track, how are you doing, Jose?
I'm good, man. I'm back into society. I was in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, for my brother-in-law's wedding, which was awesome. But glad to be back home in my own home and my own shower, bathroom, house, seeing Olive, the dog. So it's nice to be back to normal. But it certainly wasn't. It was not a good match to watch. Certainly from the Union perspective, but overall, just. It's I don't know, something's missing, and I think we'll talk more about it. But it feels like something's missing in this squad, and it could be just that last piece to really bring it together.
Yeah, and for sure we'll touch on that. And there really is no news to talk about. I guess the only thing that we could maybe touch on briefly, Jose, is, and we won't even play the intro for the news for this segment because honestly it could just be talked about very quickly, but MLS finally announced the GAM available for all teams, and I'm clicking on the link now here, seeing if it is indeed updated. It is indeed. Well done, MLS. Well done indeed. Updating the amount of money that teams have in GAM, and maybe that's a good place for us to tie it into later on in the show, Jose, because the Philadelphia Union do have a decent amount of GAM available, and they do have that open designated player spot. So the Union have $4.3 million, almost $4.4 million available in GAM, which is one of the highest in MLS. I believe top 8. I do believe. Quickly looking over that number, trying to do math off grip, but yeah, we do know that it hasn't been great for the Philadelphia Union lately. They've missed chance creation, in my opinion. And again, we'll probably get on to that a lot more into the show. But yeah, seeing $4.4 million, I don't think this really caught me by surprise. I don't want to talk to you, Jose. I don't know how much of the fan base was surprised seeing that the Union had one of the highest GAM available in the league. And the one thing I don't know is if that number is included in the $2 million that the union got for going the 4 U22 players and then the 2 designated players, I would imagine that probably does include the extra $2 million, since this was updated after the roster profiles were released 2 weeks ago, last week, whenever the MLS decided to release this. But yeah, regardless, the union do have flexibility. And I feel like you and I always stress this on this show, Jose, that, okay, yeah, things aren't going the way that fans would want right now, probably the way that the players, the coaching staff would want right now. But they did set themselves up this offseason to go out there and make more moves if they felt the need to go out there and make moves.
Yeah, they absolutely did, and I think seeing this number kind of gives you an idea of what sort of flexibility they have, whether they want to use it for X, Y, or Z, maybe lower salaries, bring new players in, buy international slots. Not that they need them, considering that they have an open one as is. And I do think that number does include the $2 million from going the U22 initiative model instead of going to the opposite, which is the designated player one. So, yeah, I don't know that there's much else to talk about this outside of it's a large sum. If you look down the scale, you have teams like Los Angeles who literally have a big fat zero GAM available as of right now, which is I feel like I don't know, Todd, maybe I haven't looked too closely at previous or at least once they've started becoming more and more transparent. But I don't think I've ever seen a zero in the spreadsheets or that MLS sends out when it comes to the GAM totals as of late. So I was kind of shocked to see Will Kuntz, I think it's his last name,
LA Galaxy.
using all of his GAM, period. So I was shocked.
Yeah, I was shocked too. And I don't know. I mean, maybe it makes sense because, they sent a significant amount of money to the union in terms of GAM for Jacob Glesnes, and just looking at other pieces that they brought in this season. So, I mean, yeah, with Ricky Puig out for yet again another season, they had to find ways to make that roster competitive, a lot more competitive than they were last year. And look, they barely got out of the first round of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and now I know the team from Jamaica that they're supposed to face are facing a whole bunch of visa issues, and yeah, we'll see what happens for LA Galaxy's next CONCACAF game. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about last night's Philadelphia Union San Jose game, Jose. And obviously, that's why everybody's here in the comment section. Everybody has a lot of thoughts, and I appreciate all the comments early on. Again, if you guys are just listening back on the RSS feed, I say it all the time. Like, please watch the podcast live, interact with us. There's a lot of fine people that interact with us on a weekly basis, and we appreciate the support. And we could definitely use more people interacting with us, because these fine people in the comment sections right now are what make this show what it is. But before we get into, I don't know, too many specific topics on the night, Jose, just for a rundown for the people that are listening live, we're talking about the lack of chances created for the Union's forward, specifically conceding yet again another goal at left back, the absence of Cavan Sullivan last night, and how concerning is the slow start for the Philadelphia Union. And we can go ahead and talk about the game a little bit, Jose, before we get into those topics. But the thing I think I really want to nail home, and it's what I named the episode title, and it's kind of what I based both my articles on last night, that this is the first time since 2012 that the Union have got off to an 0-3 start in MLS play. Only the second time ever in club history. And I know a lot of people in the media, I saw this number floating around on social media. I saw other people writing about this in their articles, because this is a big deal. This is a big deal, Jose. And yes, you can blame CC play because of it. Don't forget, folks, last year when Cincinnati came to town, the Union whooped them 4-1. 4-1, and I know Cincinnati was going through different CONCACAF Champions Cup games. And I do know that Cincinnati, too, when they were going through CONCACAF Champions Cup, that they actually did win MLS games. The Union haven't got that far yet. Cincinnati last year were scoring goals. The Union only had one goal from a penalty kick this season, 0 from open play, and we'll get into that specifically here in a bit, Jose. But a 0-3 start, I don't think anybody really could have predicted this, even with CCC play, the focus for the Union early on.
Yeah, no, I even the most positive people, and I think maybe we land on that end of the spectrum about this team. Like I would have never expected in games that would have likely been, I don't want to say foregone conclusive wins, but like I would have thought that the Union would have beat. They would have had a 3 points at DC. It's always been sort of the trend there. New York City, I would have expected a draw at home, and San Jose, I would have expected 3 points as well. So at the very least, I would have expected 6, 7 points ideally. But here the Union sit with 0 out of the possible 9, and believe me, I guess I'll be the first one to say, and I don't want to speak for you, Todd, but there's no dressing up an 0-3 start. It is just ugly ball that's being played right now, and a lot of questions to be asked of the team, and I think we sort of were sounding a little bit of not the alarm, but like, hey, like it'll be really interesting to see how this goes, considering that last year all the Union had to focus on were 2 competitions that didn't deal with them, or they weren't bogged down by other things. Last year was just MLS play and the U.S. Open Cup. No Leagues Cup, no CONCACAF Champions Cup. That's not to say that I don't appreciate CONCACAF Champions Cup. I'm probably the number 1 supporter of it. Leagues Cup probably a close second, just because I like the idea of mixing the teams together and seeing what they do. But man, it seems like it has really cost them a lot in terms of their attention. Obviously, we can talk about the departures and the arrivals until we turn blue, but the reality is that this is just a far more congested start to the year than last year, where I remember you and I joking, just it's kind of nice to only focus 1 game per week, versus having to focus about 2 to 3 potentially in 1 week so early into the season. So yeah, man, very tough start for the Union, and I think we can look more into San Jose. And I was able to talk with Bruce and Buddha, the goal scorer last night for San Jose, a little bit too, so we can chat about that too.
Yeah, why not get into that? Because I know how I'll go. I'll start talking about specific plays, and it's like I want to save those moments for the topics that we have up. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and share about what Bruce Arena said after the game, what Buddha said after the game, the goal scorer courtesy of Timo Werner assisting in back-to-back games now for San Jose. Both off the bench, by the way.
Yeah, both off the bench, which was a big part of what Bruce kind of alluded to in terms of, him being very proud of a team that went out and maybe it's a cliche thing to say nowadays, but, grinded a win in Chester, Pennsylvania against the Union, where it's not easy, which is kind of what you hear, but that's sort of been the reality. In listening to him and asking him a few questions for MLS last night, it really does feel like this is a very different San Jose team than last year. And of course it is, because there's new additions and departures, massive ones for sure on both ends. But I could sense that there's a certain sense of belief within the San Jose team. But I think Bruce is also cautious that, yeah, they're 3-0. They've only faced 5 total shots on target, 3 clean sheets, but they've also beaten up against, I don't want to lump the Union into this crowd, but they've beaten up a pretty bad Sporting Kansas City team, a pretty bad Atlanta team as well. So you can tell that there's a little bit of caution in Bruce's voice when it comes to, what he expects of this team. In terms of Buddha, what was really interesting was that, this is great to have this 3-0 start for San Jose. He was very open that this is sort of the expectation that they had going into the season, knowing the roster that they had and sort of how they continue to progress through the preseason and ramp up. But again, I can't speak for him or for Bruce, but I think he could also sense Yeah, and like next game's probably going to be tougher, right? Or it's going to be equally as tough. It can't be as easy as going to easy. The Union are about to do it, but beating up on Atlanta or beating up on Sporting Kansas City. So it was neat to hear from both of them and sort of get the whole picture. But kudos to them. I mean, they came, they played, they won, and I mean, I can't wait to hear from you and see how we break down the game-winning goal. I think there's different approaches to, not to point the finger, but like, okay, who's really at blame here? I think you can flip a coin between two players, but you can't help but to be happy for San Jose in a way. They did what they got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, I guess take the risk and play the game winning goal from San Jose. For people who, I would imagine everybody here watching live or people that are listening on the RSS feed, I'd imagine you guys watched the game. So you know how the goal was scored. And if you guys weren't, I'm sure you guys watched the highlights. But yeah, before we do that, I do want to point out too that this is a San Jose team that really wasn't that active in the transfer window. Timo Werner being the biggest acquisition. But let's not forget that Christian Espinoza, free agent, and I know there was reports out there that they forgot to file the paperwork and it allowed Espinoza to then go into free agency. That's not what San Jose had planned. That's the rumors that you saw floated online. I don't know how true that is, but that was a big departure for San Jose. They also lose Josef Martinez, who had a on and off season, I thought, season last year for San Jose. And then Chico Arango, they loan him out this season. So you lose three forwards, three players that are comfortable goal scorers in this league. And now you get your roster to be a little bit more thin than it was last season. And I think that working with a smaller team is not necessarily a bad thing, Jose, especially if you're not in a lot of competitions. And I think we kind of saw that last year with the Union, right? Where, okay, I know they had injury issues in preseason, and that's why you had a chance for Frankie Westfield, but you had opportunities to give younger guys their debuts, and a David Vasquez, a Sal Olivas, a Eddie Davis, a Neil Pierre, where, okay, you're not playing in too many competitions, you're just playing in two, and more times than not, you're up in a lot of these games. You're not chasing from behind. You're trying to close games out, or in the case of Vancouver and in Columbus, yeah, you're down in those games, but you're pushing. But I think last year you had the opportunity to not have the need to go out there and have a bigger squad. And yeah, I'm sure Bruce Arena probably feels the same way too, that there is no need to have a huge squad, a 30 plus man team like we see the Union approaching, just because you're not in that many competitions. And sometimes maybe it's easier to get your message across when you have a smaller team. You can work with players maybe a little bit more individually. Not saying that the Union aren't working with players individually. Please don't take it that way at all. But I don't know. I do think that there is something to be said where less players, less competitions means maybe a little bit more focus on details, because you can focus on those players a little bit 1v1 individually. But like I said, I don't want to spend too much time talking about that game, because I do want to talk about the different topics and we'll talk about these goals. But I guess we're getting into talking about the lack of chances created for the forwards, Jose. And this wasn't just a trend last night against San Jose. It's been a trend in the first three games for the Union this season. And I wrote about this a little bit in my article, and if you guys haven't read it yet, go to thefreekick.substack.com and you can read that. And I do apologize. A lot of how the show set up is going to touch bases on that article, because I am proud of that article that I came out with at like 6:30 in the morning. I started writing it, which is so crazy to me when we lost an hour of sleep. So it was really 5:30, but yeah, I was just pumped to get something written early in the morning so I could go and golf, and knowing that we had the show loaded at night. So it's like, let's go ahead and try to get as much done early on before we go and have fun the rest of the day. But yeah, only one goal this season, I said it in the intro, for the Union came via a penalty spot via Indiana Vassilev last weekend against New York City, which a late penalty in that game. The Union have gone 270 minutes now without a goal from open play. And the chances, Jose, it's not like the Union aren't creating chances, but if I can recall correctly, 2 years ago, I think it was you who asked Jim Curtin about big chances or mentioned big chances missed. And he's like, what is a big chance? Like, how do you define a big chance? Like, yeah, I see that word used, but you can define it many different ways. And for me, I would define a big chance as an opportunity where you should probably score off of that play. So the Union have created 29 chances in their first 3 games. 8 of those were against San Jose last night. But only 4 of those 29 chances, Jose, qualified as big chances with the Union just really not capitalizing off of any of them. And that's kind of a concern, in my opinion. What about you? Think it's a concern?
I think so. And I think I feel that we're having a completely different conversation. I think the vibe of the fan base and maybe even folks who write, focus, report, whatever you want to call it about the team changes completely if Nate Harriel puts that header in the 45th minute and the Union can just bunker down the rest of the game and maybe squeak out a 1-0 win and maybe, things are a little different. But my goodness, it really does feel like some of the chances that they're creating are just not that dangerous and maybe settling for opportunities where the XG, and I'm not an XG person, the expected goal value of some of these shots are probably unbelievably low, and or through their movement through the different zones around the box or even in the box, they often move to positions where the XG or the ability to actually get that shot off are just continuing to diminish. I think of and I think he's likely a wonderful person, so please don't confuse this for me being a hater or disliking the guy, but I feel like Indiana Vassilev more often than not finds himself moving the ball away from what he could be doing to maybe have a better opportunity. If anything, if you're looking for a bright spot in terms of chances created, I was actually a little impressed with how well Frankie Westfield's whipping in the ball with his right foot a little bit here early into the season, including the CONCACAF Champions Cup games against Defense Force. But I don't know that I'm seeing much from Aneo. I don't know that I'm seeing much from Damiani this year, both in terms of the offensive and defensive side. I think he's hustling, but I don't know that he's making the tackles. I guess I'll gotta look at the data a little bit more, but just on the eye test, I can't think of those moments that I would often go and say, you know what, shit, I really got to clip that because this dude just ran 10, 15 yards after his team lost the ball and just hustled to get a tackle in. And yeah, Alado after last night has 100 minutes worth of play. I would think close to 100 minutes worth of play. Probably too early to judge him, but don't tell Apple otherwise. Who went on for a 3-minute segment talking shit about him, Emmanuel Latela, and who was the third striker?
It was what's his name? Into Miami, the guy they got from Monterrey.
Oh yeah, Bertarame. But that didn't stop him from talking shit on a guy that's barely been on the field for 58 minutes. So maybe I have an opportunity to dig at him, but I'm not going to do that. Yeah, it feels like predictability, and I think that's the key word, or the word to maybe transition to what you want to put on screen next is quite obvious. And man, is that a difficult thing to not want to associate yourself with and not want to associate Bradley Cornell with, considering his track record of second seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's already been a couple comments, people talking about Bradley Cornell's opening statement from his press conference. And so I don't think these people knew that we had that lined up, but that's exactly what we're going to open the show with. Bradley Cornell giving his assessment on the game last night.
Based on what we've done over the last couple of months, I would say, garnered a lot of respect around the opponents and what have you, and everyone knows Bruno's a handful, and Milan as well. So yeah, I mean, we're not getting as much time and space in those final third moments. We're getting to the moments, but then it's maybe the intricate movements. It's maybe the setup on the entry balls as well. So yeah, there's lots to work on with the nines as well. But everyone's committed. Everyone's working really hard in training, and I can't fault the boys. They're doing everything we ask right now, just not able to get it over the line.
And so Zach left us this comment, Jose, earlier in the show, said, "Hey guys, just wanted to know what you guys think about the coach press conference when he said that Saturday night it was the best Union game so far in the season. Are we on the same page?" And then Sexy Hoagie said, "Did we watch the same game?" And I think a lot of fans probably feel that same way after hearing Bradley Cornell's press conference. Only 3 shots on target last night for the Union, and that big chance, that big moment that Cornell was talking about was the Nathan Harriel free header, diving header. Lasky free kick whipped into the box, goes untouched somehow by the strikers, by the defenders of San Jose, and the ball falls kindly to Nate Harriel, and Daniel makes a really good save on the night. But for me, Jose, what's really concerning is out of those 4 big chances that the Union have created, out of their 29 chances in the first 3 games, Nathan Harriel leads the way with 3. He's had a big chance against DC United, had a big chance against New York City, had a big chance last night with that header against San Jose. And this isn't any shots fired at Nate Harriel. Good on him for getting in those positions. But for me, you got to find ways to get your strikers involved. It doesn't matter if it's Damiani. It doesn't matter if it's Anello up top. Doesn't matter if it's Lasky up top. You got to create these chances for your strikers. And the fact of the matter is, the Union aren't doing that right now. They are not getting their strikers involved. Bruno Damiani, Jose, has only taken 4 chances this season, and 3 of those shots have been blocked. That tells me right away that he's getting closed down quickly. As soon as the Union get him the ball, get him service, he's closed down. And I know there's comments right here. Evan said, did the Union have a Bruno Damiani problem? I would say no, because he only has 4 shots and 3 of those shots have been blocked. Where's the service for Bruno Damiani? There hasn't been service for Bruno Damiani. Last night, I think Anello and Bruno Damiani kept getting in the way of each other, making similar runs, and that would kill attacks because they're occupying the same space. And we saw that at times between Todd and Damiani last season. That's why, in my opinion, I didn't think they worked that well together because they made similar runs. Now, I'm willing to give Anello and Damiani the benefit of the doubt because it's early in the season. Anello's a newer player. He's still learning out how this team wants to play. Can't figure out, does he play as a 10? Does he play as a striker? And I get it. I think versatility is a good thing. But when you're tinkering with things so much and you're desperate for points, you're desperate for goals, yeah, those moments stand out when you have the same players running into the same space. Only 2 shots this season, Jose, from Lasky and Anello when either one of those guys are playing up top. Stas Korzeniowski leads all forwards in shots, Jose, with 4. And I think there was a comment that I had stored earlier, yep, right here from Wolfie. He says, eye-opening that Stas is our most dynamic new player this season so far in Cavan. And I do think it is maybe a little bit shocking. It is a little bit numbing that a player, and no offense to Stas for playing Union 2 last year, but yeah, a player from Union 2 is your best forward so far this season, 3 games into the MLS season. He's made the most of his opportunities, great for Stas. But also, again, where is the service? Where are you getting your service for your forwards? And so I'm going to play one more clip from Bradley Cornell, and then we'll play that Damiani clip. I'll let you, as soon as that Cornell clip's over, Jose, you can go ahead and just take this however you want with everything that I've said. Go ahead and say whatever you need to say after Bradley Cornell talks about not getting those strikers chances. Based
on what we've done over the last couple of months, I would say, garnered a lot of respect around the opponents and what have you, and everyone knows Bruno's a handful, and Milan as well. So yeah, I mean, we're not getting as much time and space in those final third moments. We're getting to the moments, but then it's maybe the intricate movements. It's maybe the setup on the entry balls as well. So yeah, there's lots to work on with the Nines as well. But everyone's committed. Everyone's working really hard in training, and I can't fault the boys. They're doing everything we ask right now, just not able to get it over the line.
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot, Todd. That's sort of where I land on things in terms of where is the service for Bruno, and I think I saw a comment fly by, and you don't have to find it and pull it up. That's okay. Talking about, is it a midfield issue? I think if you look at the way that the Union operated 2025, even that very difficult 2024 season, and probably through 2021, I think is the time, and I think you'll know where I'm going with this. When it's so predictable that what the entry ball is going to be to a Damiani, to a Milanowski, to an Aneo, Alado, albeit in a short amount of time on the field, it's very easy for defenders to know, okay, I got to get on the back of this guy, not let him turn. Even as strong as Damiani and Alado are, obviously Alaska and Aneo, at least it seems like they're not as strong and certainly not commanding their bodies around the way that those two can and will and have in the time that we've watched them. I think it's pretty obvious that teams know that, there's no Kai Wagner pumping in balls from 35 yards out. There's no Kai Wagner pumping in balls from 25 yards out as an early cross that they have to keep an eye out, and someone has to go close down. I think that's what's allowing for teams to find the Union to be a little one-dimensional right now, and that's why I wanted to compliment Frankie from the get-go, where he was actually taking a varied approach in the way that he was going forward in terms of crossing the ball sometimes early or sometimes driving forward, trying to get a cross in rather than just hitting it first time. That's exactly what Kai used to do. And I think more than ever, you're seeing, at least in these first 3 games against opposition that's objectively better than Defense Force. I think you're really seeing the hole that Kai left. And I'm really intrigued to see, again, not that it's going to be a one-to-one. That would be an incredible find, and what a beautiful thing that would be for fans and certainly for the Union staff and ownership. But if Philippe Ndinga is anywhere near Kai Wagner in terms of what he provides, certainly offensively, but slightly better defensively, he's already a gigantic addition to this team and what he can unlock in terms of stretching defenses. So someone has to go close out across versus saying, it's Ben Bender, like I don't have to worry too much about his crossing. He's going to cut in and try to pass the ball into a Milan or an Indiana Vasilev, or I guess maybe not as easily predictable, a Frankie Westfield who's doing something to vary the way that he's crossing and approaching the offensive end of his duties on the night. So I've been yapping, and I think it really just boils down to Philippe Ndinga, I think, is going to be a huge addition should he provide anywhere near what Kai did in giving more freedom to the Union forwards and players as a whole, and just adding a complete new dimension to the game that's missing right now for Philadelphia. Because once you can have the attention of those defenders and midfielders to have to go close down someone like Philippe or Kai at the time, that just opens up more gaps in between for balls to be played, whether it's a cross or just something in the middle. Again, I think it's pretty obvious, and I don't know if you would agree.
Yeah, I do agree, and I think Bradley Cornell would probably agree with you as well. And we'll play Bradley Cornell talking about the left back issues that the Union have had. Again, conceding a lot of goals coming from the left back position. But to kind of wrap up this point here, the majority of the Union shots. Yeah, go ahead.
For the record, I did not watch Bradley last night, his press conference. I just went straight into Formula One, to be honest with you, after waiting for Bruce Arena. So I don't know what he said.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you're going to hear all this stuff for the first time. So it's exciting. But when your midfielders are taking majority of your chances, and I don't have an issue with midfielders having shots. My issue is you're not getting those opportunities for your forward, whether it be Alaski, Anello, or Damiani, like I said. That's where my issue is, and I think that's where a lot of the listeners agree with, and people I'm sure that aren't commenting now probably agree with this too. Wolfie says, we absolutely are dying for some sort of attacking mind chance creator. Jazz was talking about the through ball that Timo Werner played, and for the goal, we'll pull up a clip later on. Jarrett said that we need a midfielder who can connect the traditional transitional play and command the midfield. And I agree, Jose. I agree. This team needs another attacking midfielder. We were asked this last episode, if we were in charge with having the DP spot open, or roster spot open, what would we go out and do? And we said that, yeah, it'll probably be a DP spot on a number 6 in the summertime, assuming that Danley gets sold in the summer after World Cup with Haiti, assuming that he has a good World Cup with Haiti, which I can't imagine he doesn't. But you do have that open spot. And Quinn Sullivan, Bruce says, are they missing Quinn that much? I think that's a big part of it. You're missing your 2 biggest chance creators from last season. And Kai Wagner, he's sold. He's not coming back. And Quinn Sullivan, he'll come back. But when? June at the earliest, I would imagine. And so where are you going to get those chances from? And this is something where fans were saying to us earlier in the offseason, Jose, that they're a little bit concerned not having Kai Wagner there. A big chance creator ever since he was with the Union in 2019 to up until this past offseason when he was sold. That's a lot of productivity. And maybe the burden's a little less if you still had a Jack McGlynn on this team, who is a big chance creator. Does he fit in a Bradley Cornell system? No. I don't believe he would have. But you get rid of playmakers like that. You get Quinn Sullivan injured. Who's going to step up? Who's going to create those chances? Is it is it Anello? We haven't seen it yet. Is it Alaski? Haven't really seen it yet. We saw it last year for sure. But I was talking to somebody in the press box about this last night. You know what this team is missing, in all honesty? They're missing Mikel Ua, Jose. They're missing somebody that can stretch the back line. That's what they're missing. I thought that would be Alado, and granted, 100 minutes he's played? There's still time, right? I'm not panicking, not saying, oh, yep, he's a bust. This team's a failure. I'm not saying that at all. But I would think that we would see a little bit more with players running in behind. Don't forget, Bradley Cornell said that was the idea with playing Alaski up top against New York City. They thought that he could get in behind. It didn't really happen that much against New York City. So obviously, the coaching staff knows they need that. They need somebody to stretch to the back line. That will open up channels. I do believe, to your point, Jose, getting Philippe to make these runs up the channel. We see it from Frankie Westfield. We saw it when he would play as a left back. We saw it when he's playing as a right back. If Philippe can do exactly what Kai Wagner did, or even half of that, Jose, be a threat going forward, then I think that opens things up. But yes, I do agree with the comments that they are lacking a chance creator in the midfield. It's a big lack. And so one of the last clips I'll play, and then we can go ahead and talk about conceding goals from the left back position. Bruno Damiani was asked once again about the lack of chance creation for the forwards. This is what he had to say.
It's not only one reason why we're struggling in scoring. Today in the first half, I think we really deserved the goal. And it's just about details, and we need to improve. Then in the second half, when they score, we just got so predictable that we didn't have any chances. And in that case, I think that's like a tactic thing we need to improve at. I already felt it in the last couple of games, and I think the coach staff also knows that. So I would say in those moments we need to improve to get more chances and to score goals. And in the game, maybe it's just about luck and details.
Before we talk about what Bruno just said, shout out to the Philadelphia Union once again for allowing us to record video in the locker room. Makes such a big difference. Video absolutely took off on social media, both on Instagram and Twitter, just like I always knew they would. And I know you guys, the listeners watching this on YouTube, appreciate those videos. So shout out Philadelphia Union for allowing us to record video in the locker room. But I think Bruno's spot on, Jose. And the one thing he said, it's not just one reason, it's many reasons. And maybe this is the main reason, Jose, why they are lacking creating chances. They're conceding first. Yes, good. The Union don't get a player sent off in this game like they did the first 2 games of the season. But
that's a massive improvement already.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, let's give it up, right? A big win. And Jovan Lukic, I asked Bradley Carnell why he brought Lukic off when he did. And before I can finish my question, Bradley's like, oh, he was on a yellow card. He was on a yellow card. Was Bradley afraid that Jovan was going to be the next player sent off? I don't know. Thought it was a little bit of a tell. Like, okay, we don't want a third player sent off, so let's take Jovan out right here. We know Jovan's an aggressive player, which, by the way, it's a bullcrap yellow card that Jovan picked up. Got all ball. Was shocked that he was sent off for that, but I digress. To Bruno's point, they keep conceding first. And last year, the Union scored first in 20 out of 34 games. And when the Union did that, they were 16-0-4. Didn't lose a single game. 12 out of 34 games last year, Jose, the Union conceded first. And in doing so, they were 4-8-0. Won 4 games, lost 8, had 0 draws. The Union weren't used to playing from behind. And now in all 3 games this season, Jose, they've had to play from behind. It's an issue.
I think it was, if I recall correctly, Todd, it was such a massive data point in 2024, right? How quickly and how often that team was going behind early and then having to rally back was not something that they were really prepared for. I remember Jim often saying, and please step in if I'm off the mark here, but I remember Jim often mentioning, yeah, we need to get to a better start because we're not built to claw back. We're built to take advantage of a hot start, come out, punching really hard, and then just having to settle and carry out victories at home or sneaking away with points away from home. But to Bruno's comments, this is the second time in 3 games or 3 MLS games where he has said the same thing. And I'm not saying that to ridicule, mock, or judge the guy, but like, it's a common thing, right? If the guy's going out of his way to say it, we are far too predictable. I've told coach, we are far too predictable on the way that we play and the way that we approach the attacking end, and certainly the way that we are conceding. And I'll stand on it for sure. My initial, or one of my comments of, if that Nate Harriel header goes in, I feel like the entire approach behind that game goes obviously differently. But I don't know that San Jose, even with a Timo Werner, I'm not sure that they can even tie that game. I don't know that team is enough to come from behind at Chester. Funny anecdote. Someone asked Bruce Arena, how did you explain to Timo that Timo Werner that he was going to have to go play in Chester, Pennsylvania, and that it was going to be cold and rainy? And he mentioned, I feel like he's played in plenty of cold, wet nights in Germany. I think he was fine. It was just one of those like funny little comments that he made. But yeah, man, predictability. It feels like that's just too apparent, too obvious. And the addition of a Felipe Ndinga, again, allowing some of these defenses to maybe having to focus on more than just the guys inside of the box, but rather focusing on the overlaps and players that can actually do something with their left and their right feet to cross in, should allow for some space, some running and movement from the guys inside of the 18-yard box.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and switch to offense to defense. Union concede yet again another goal from the left back position. And I'll go ahead, and this is where we don't get to monetize the video anymore, which is totally fine. Not like we were making money anyway. But we'll go ahead and show that goal last night. And what I think is so important about this goal conceded last night is it's initially blocked from Siri Larson. It gets cleared away from Danley John Jock, and then San Jose, they retain possession, and it's patient build-up. It's good passing, and the Union just don't close the ball down quick enough. It's just simple passing, and they find ways to cut the Union up inside, and they do so well to attack the space. And then it's that through ball right there from Timo Werner, and then the finish there from Buda. And I know this is something, Jose, you wanted to talk on, is who's at fault for this goal. You can blame multiple people. We'll go ahead and replay that back once or two more times. But yeah, Timo Werner, I mean, out wide here, you'd expect him to maybe occupy more centrally, but did well to find space out wide, little half space opportunities. And yeah, it's a terrific pass right there from Timo into Buda. And yeah, I think the blame probably goes around to a couple players on this play. Right here, I mean, you don't allow Timo Werner to turn that quickly. Frankie Westfield got turned way too quickly with Timo Werner on the ball, goes inside and then turned right there. And then the through ball, actually, it wasn't even Frankie. Was that Nathan? I believe that was Nathan who got turned too quickly. So Nathan shouldn't have got turned that easily. Goes to attack the ball, and then it's too easy for Timo. But right here, I mean, the defensive line for the Union. You see Sekera caught in no man's land, tracking back, not in a great position, and then Siri Larson's keeping Buda at one side. If Siri Larson steps up, this is an offsides play.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, Sekera is going to get a lot of blame here because of where he was at positionally. But I think maybe that's just a little bit of a communication issue, Jose. And there was a comment a while ago in the show that said, I thought, go ahead, I believe with a consistent back line, things would be different. And that's kind of the truth, right, Jose? The Union haven't had a staple back line. And I think to your point, once Ndinga comes in, I think then we do start seeing that consistency. But you can't have a consistent back line in this game because Makanya got suspended because of that double yellow. Frankie Westfield's dealt with a hamstring injury early on, and so you put Sundstrom out there at left back. You put Gainer Martinez out there at left back. Nathan Haverhill's play left back. Ben Bender's play left back. It's not been a consistent back line. And when you're constantly moving your back line around, bringing in new pieces, how can you build chemistry on a completely revamped back line? So I think that's a pretty fair comment earlier in the show that we got. But again, I think this is just a communication issue between Siri Larson and Sekera, who started at left back in this game.
Can I bring it up one more time with the shift? What is it? There we go. I just want to go to this point around here. Maybe that's too long for what I'm trying to. I'm just messing around with this. I apologize. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like even where Sekera was placed, it feels like he's a player who's just. I don't know if he was expecting for a tackle to be made here and thinking like, oh, okay, like I'm going to position myself to counter, position myself to just go on an out route. I'm not sure. But boy, is he behind on the play. Even if you look at the way that the other three are lined up, right? Sure, Frankie's having to close down because he has to, right? He's the next guy up. Nate, of course, I'm just going to play it. Turn around.
Too easy.
Yeah, like a top. I mean, you can't give this guy that much space, that many yards of space. And I'm torn on Sari Larson because I think he is, giving a lot of space, but he's still on the 18-yard box, which is, I think, a reasonable space for
a center back.
A center back to be considering the position on the field. I'm leaning more on, inexperience from Sekera at this level. He's playing against a World Cup player, and Timo Werner, who there are very few players that see this ball, though, when you play it slowly or watch it multiple times, man, what an easy ball to play. But Sekera nearly got there. And frankly, even if he touched it, I think that still, Sekera still pushes it in past Blake anyways on his slide tackle, trying to block the ball. So, difficult play altogether, and just I think you're right. I think it's just rotating chairs of defenders, left backs, right backs. But man, that the way that Sekera was swimming and sprinting, I guess, to get back was just bananas, because I think he just completely lost track of Buda being back there, especially a guy who's been scoring too. So I don't know what the scouting report was. I don't know what Carnell said to the players ahead of the game, or how they talk about players that had just that are in a good form. They're in good form and maybe not starting. But I'm just surprised, super surprised that he was that open already behind his own marker.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go ahead and play one more clip from Bradley Cornell's press conference, and this is a quick one. He was asked about the Union continuing to concede goals from the left back position.
Yeah, listen, I mean, we have solutions. He arrived on Thursday or Friday, and Philippe's going to get up to speed, and hopefully that's one of the solutions, right? So we'll continue to do our bit and work hard as a group and as individuals to try and solve that piece of the puzzle. But yeah, that's all I can say to that.
So yeah, I mean, Bradley Cornell's not going to go ahead and throw players under the bus. I don't see him as a coach that's going to do that. I think maybe he'll tiptoe the line. But do you find it concerning, Jose, that Olivier Baizo once again not in the matchday squad? You call up Giovanni Sequeira, who signs a short-term loan agreement from Union 2, starts at left back in this game instead of playing a Frankie Westfield at left back and playing Olivier Baizo at right back.
I mean, I don't know what,
and we don't know the reasoning why Baizo wasn't in there,
right?
But I do think it's concerning, right? He wasn't in the injury report. Bradley Cornell didn't seem too positive where he was fitness wise.
Yeah, I don't know what Mbaizo's up to. He's obviously part of the roster in some way, shape, or form. I honestly, and I don't know. I don't know the math behind it exactly, but I would have thought he's a perfect candidate for buying out a spot. But then again, when you need depth in the up, he went in for one of the Defense Force games, right?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's where Mbaizo thrives, I guess. Like you just need to put bodies out. That's where you put him in. I could have sworn Mbaizo went in, especially that second leg specifically. I'm fairly certain he went in. But yeah, no, I do find it a little alarming. Again, if you're the Union and you're having to rely on some players playing completely out of position, or maybe there's more to Ben Bender that I don't know about, and you have tucked away in the back of your brain from your interview with him. I don't think left back was ever a position that he truly played. So to be doing this dance of having to push players around to try to fit the really interesting mold that the Union have made for left backs, which I don't think is completely unique, but it's certainly a variation, right? Of having somebody, both sides, having somebody who plays left back, right back, whatever, that can push forward, attack, but also be willing to do the pressing cues that the Union do. Again, it's not unique, but certainly has its own differences from what the Red Bull teams do and some of the other teams in Europe. But I don't know that Ben Bender fits that mold. But then again, when he came in against was it New York City, he kind of helped turn that game around alongside Stash Korsanowski. So the hell do I know? So again, I'm don't know where in the world Olivier Mbaizo is, but apparently not in Chester. I don't know. Maybe he was in the stadium watching, but not on the roster sheet for sure.
Yeah, and a player that was on the roster sheet last night, Cavan Sullivan, but doesn't come in last night. And for me, that's a big question mark, Jose. And somebody in the media, for sure, should have asked about Cavan Sullivan not coming in last night. But I feel like we've asked about Cavan so much this season already, and let's go ahead and change it up. But last night, it felt like a Cavan Sullivan game to me, Jose. And I know we spent a good majority of this game talking about the chance creation, and you're looking for players to come on, take players on 1v1. You don't really get that from Indiana Vasilev, and I get it. Indiana Vasilev seems to be a favorite of Bradley Cornell because of how well he does in his pressing system. But I would have thought, Jose, we would have seen Cavan Sullivan at some point last night. And Bradley, before the game, was talking to Apple about the minutes that Cavan's played already and that they're in communication with Manchester City on on his development and just how things are going and whatnot. And I saw some people speculating last night saying, oh, so is Manchester City dictating when the Union do and don't play Cavan Sullivan? I don't know if it's so much that, if I'm honest, but maybe there's something in it. I would imagine Manchester City want to get him as much first team action as possible. So by the time he arrives to England, he'll have plenty of experience under his belt playing at a decent level. But again, you bring in a Ben Bender, who comes off the bench last night, creates a chance. You bring in Alejandro Bedoya, you bring in Jesus Bueno, you bring in Alado and Staus Korzanowski. One of those subs, would you have flipped them out and brought in a Cavan Sullivan? I think one of the obvious ones would have been either you don't bring Bedoya in or you don't bring Ben Bender in, you put in Cavan Sullivan. And I don't know, Jose. I don't have the answers why Cavan didn't play last night. I think he should have been out there. I think he should have played significant minutes. I'm not saying he would have got an assist, but he's a player that I would say is pretty confident after coming off of a couple goals and a couple assists in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, even though I know, it's defense force. But again, you want to bring a player in that can take people on 1v1. And I don't think the Union really have too many of those players right now.
Yeah, I mean, when you're throwing the kitchen sink, I don't know that. And again, full respect, club legend, awesome guy to talk to and hear from him on everything that he does for Latin American community, Spanish speakers, etc. I don't know when you're throwing the kitchen sink and you have to claw back. I'm not sure that Alejandro Bedoya is the best answer, to be completely honest with you. I know that he brings a lot of different things to the table. I'm not sure that he's one that's going to help you break lines. I'm sure if he was listening and if somebody who knows him sends him this fucking clip, I apologize, Ali. I'm sure you're going to hit me with some random stat next time I see you or some sort of glare, and that's totally deserved, I'm sure. But I, too, was shocked that Cavan Sullivan did not go in. I don't know if it's a minutes restriction. I have no clue. Genuinely have no clue. I would love to know the answer because I'm not going to go off the deep end and say that he would have completely flipped that game upside down. I don't know that he's that player. I don't know that we've seen enough from him to be able to say that he is that player that can come in and say, shit, I'm going to beat this guy in front of me who is potentially double the age of me and just beat him around the corner and put a ball in. Or, I'm going to beat this guy, use my right foot, left foot, and take a shot from 20 yards out. And here we go. We're going to tie the game and potentially win it. But he certainly might have been more creative than what the Union were putting in those last couple of chances. My gosh, I even think about how poorly that last attempt to go forward looked like, right? It was just pathetic in the way that, with seconds left, they try to conjure up some sort of movement forward, but they completely fail, botch it, and next thing you know, game's over, and you just see sad faces, and the commentary is this and that. And I go onto Twitter, X, Blue Sky, whatever, everybody is losing their minds over the fucking light show. But the Union are still winless with very little to show for it. So why not put in a Cavan Sullivan to try to kickstart something? I would even argue it would be super interesting to see him start at this point too in MLS, considering how the season's going so far. I know we might touch on it. We may not touch on it. I'm not sure. The Union cannot lose to Atlanta, even though the game's at Atlanta. If they lose to Atlanta, that's a very, very bad loss. Losing to DC after they've made some, shifting around of personnel. Okay, whatever. Losing to New York City at home. Okay, that's fine. I mean, they did get beat by them the year prior in the playoffs, and it was always difficult to play against New York City. It always has been. Playing against New York City has been difficult. Losing to San Jose, kind of a head scratcher. Losing to Atlanta, that's not good, especially the last couple of years and how poor their investments have been in some of those big money moves. So I hope that, for the sake of this fan base, that there's not a, can you imagine a 3-0 loss to Atlanta at Atlanta?
Be bad. It would be bad.
Pretty bad, right? It'd be really, really bad. So, I mean, I don't know. I probably answered a whole lot, but just some immediate thoughts of like, oh man, I'm just thinking about what's ahead. But then on the other hand, and if you're listening, please comment. If you're watching, please comment right now. How much does your mood change? And Todd, I'll throw this to you too. How much does your mood change if Club America comes to town on Tuesday and the Union win 3-0?
Yeah, I mean, I think this fan base, I think people in the media, I think you would take anything to kickstart the Union to have better play in MLS play. And I know Club America have been struggling as of late, just like the Philadelphia Union. And let's face it, Jose. Yeah, Club America might be struggling, but they are a lot better than Defense Force. And I think this is a game where you want to prove something. You want to prove something that you can handle some of the best teams in this continent. The biggest club, I would say, in the Western Hemisphere in Club America, that you can handle what their fans are going to bring in Subaru Park on Tuesday. You can handle what their fans are going to bring down to Mexico next week. But you also want to prove, Jose, that the 3 losses in MLS is unprecedented for this team. That the 3 losses isn't them, and I know it is them. They've lost 3 games. I get it. That is exactly who they are this season. They've lost 3 games. It's not the end of the world, I don't think, yet. And there was somebody on Twitter I was getting back and forth with where he was like, "Oh, I try to say that the Union are a bad team." It's like, dude, how are we judging the Union after 2 games in MLS? How are we judging them after 3 games? And I guess to your point, Jose, you're talking about Atlanta already, and if the Union, I know you're giving a hypothetical, but if the Union lose next week in Atlanta, how concerning is it? How big of a deal is it? I think, yeah, we've seen from the comments tonight. We've seen from the comments on social media. We certainly see people not mincing their words and saying, "Yep, this is Bradley Cornell's second season. This is what happened in St. Louis. Now it's happening in Philadelphia." I'm not ready to say that. I'm willing to give this team, I'm willing to give Bradley Cornell the benefit of the doubt with as many new pieces as there are here. I am willing to give the benefit of the doubt that, look, I don't think anybody thought that the Union are going to win the Supporter Shield this year. Nobody thought they were going to win it last year. But I think everybody was still confident that the Union will be a playoff team this year. It seems like it's going to be a struggle. It seems like it's going to be a dogfight to get results, at least early on. But I do think if the Union go out and get a result, if they win against Club America on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. kickoff, Fox, I believe, has the Fox Sports 1, I believe, has the broadcast for that.
Yep.
But I do think that it has the potential to kickstart maybe successful play in MLS if you get a result against a big dog like Club America. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, I'm getting some text messages right now about something I said, so I apologize. Yeah, man. I would give this team so much leeway. I mean, imagine in a world where they start. Okay, so they go Club America, they go to Atlanta, and then they play Club America again on the following Thursday in Mexico, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Wednesday. That game's on Wednesday.
Okay, whatever. So imagine a world where the Union are 0-4 in MLS play. But in aggregate, they beat Club America 4-1.
This fan base would be happy.
I think that's some serious duality of having to make a choice here, right? Like,
yeah.
Imagine a 4-1 aggregate beating one of the biggest clubs. Maybe not right now, but
biggest.
Cohesively, and
the biggest.
In its history of existing, 4-1 on aggregate, but being 0-4 in MLS play. That's an interesting scenario that I won't lie, I'd be a little curious to see, in a different universe, or maybe this universe, what that would look like. But and Atlanta loss would be it would be very tough. But that's always, I feel like Atlanta has been a tough place to play at.
It has.
Even with the Union's recent, meaning last couple of years, results. I mean, I still remember how big of a achievement it was when Brendan Aronson, and I think it was Casper, Brandon, when he put Guzan on his back, right, a turtle. I think through his legs, and I think that was one of the first, if not the first, official win at the time Mercedes-Benz. I don't know if it's Mercedes-Benz anymore, but
Mercedes-Benz,
I remember that.
It's always been that,
Cheap concessions. I know that for a fact.
100%. One of the best stadiums for cheap food, and it's good quality food too. I've enjoyed my 2 visits to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, that's for sure. So, again, let us know how concerned are you guys in the comment section. People listening back in the RSS feed, you guys can comment on Spotify. I do see the comments, and I try to get to them as quickly as I can. But how concerned are you to the start of the season for the Union? 0-3, first time since 2012 that the Union have lost 3 straight to open the MLS season. Yeah, judging by the comments tonight, I think the fan base is concerned. Music Dude says 0-3, looking bad doing it. How much of a leash does Bradley Cornell get? You don't sack Bradley Cornell at all this season, no matter how bad things get. His contract's up after the end of this season, so you simply just don't offer him a new deal. If things go south, continue to go south, then you let him walk at the end of the season. So he'll get the whole season. I'd be shocked if the Union move on from Bradley Cornell. But we're going to play one more clip. Try to end it maybe on a positive note from Frankie Westfield. He was asked after the game about the confidence of this group. How confident they're feeling overall.
Yeah, I think we won't lose confidence at all. It's never too early, never too late. I think we just need that one moment to click, that one game to click, that one goal to go in. And I think that's once we score that first goal, we're gonna keep pumping them in. So I think it's just sticking to what we want to do, sticking to how we want to play, sticking to the plan that coach wants to put out for us. And I think it's all gonna go well from there. So
that kid's captain material, in my opinion. He speaks well for a 20-year-old. A lot of confidence, a lot of encouragement from a 20-year-old that has a great head on his shoulder. It surprises me every time that I watch him play, that he speaks to the media, that he's only 20 years old. He's not like a typical 20-year-old, that is for sure. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And it's good to hear hear from Frankie saying that this is a confident team, that they're not, struggling emotionally after starting 0-3 in MLS play. And again, I think the whole mood, I think the whole environment changes if they come out with a big statement win against Club America on Tuesday night. But anything else, Jose, before we get to Blunder of the Week?
No, other than I'm eager to see where it goes from here. And I know that's probably like the unbelievably optimistic side of me, but just because maybe I love the chaos a little bit, I was equally, and you remember this, Todd, I was equally as curious when everything was going on with 2024. Just, like what's next? How can this, like, which way is this going to go? And obviously 2024 did not go very well. I don't think 2026 has got that vibe, not by a long mile. But I'm just really eager to see how they approach. And I know there's a very early 10:30 a.m. press conference tomorrow for CONCACAF Champions Cup. Certainly won't be able to make that myself with work. But I'm really eager to hear how Cornell maybe frames some questions. And I hope that whether it's local or international press, ask Cornell about, how do you square this game with the form that you're in? How do you keep these guys moving with that type of record going into probably a pretty critical part of the year, considering how much effort they're putting into this competition. Granted, the first round wasn't all that difficult at all, and maybe they got one of the toughest draws post the first round that any club can really get in this competition for this year. But we'll see, man. Excited to see where it goes. But let's see this. I may have to turn away from this blunder of the week if it is what I think it is.
Oh, it is. It's because of you, Jose.
Oh yeah.
You nominated Blunder of the Week, and so thank you, Jose, for helping. So Blunder of the Week is going to go to Brian Negro for his tackle against Independiente del Valle. I believe they play in Ecuador, if I'm not mistaken. This was an Ecuadorian match. This is one of the worst tackles I've ever seen, and this video might get us taken off YouTube. I'm not sure. Maybe Twitter too. I don't know. We'll go ahead and play this video. I don't know if I'll play the whole thing because it is pretty gruesome, but it is going to be Spanish commentary. So shout out to all of our Spanish listeners. We finally added Spanish to the show.
Todd, I think the disclaimer needs to be a little bit more. I'll give the disclaimer. You see a broken leg. Just being super transparent. I know I get really queasy about those things. I don't know how Todd does, but his fucking crazy smile right now, maybe he enjoys it more than I do. But
it's a wild tackle, dude.
With Andres Perea last year, I genuinely almost threw up looking at it. So not that it's that bad. This is a pretty bad tackle that needs to be just shared with the world.
Fine, we won't play the whole thing.
Se viene, ahí está Jean-Pierre Arroyo, terrible lo de Brian Negro, impresionante, fuerte entrada y se va expulsado.
Hoy ingresaron todos, se fueron encima de Negro y ingresaron todos los jugadores a decir que fue mal.
Sí.
Pero ingresó todos.
Claro, se metieron de la banca. Jordi Alcíbar me parece que tiró un golpe de puño.
Lo está buscando a Negro y dicen que es de urgencia lo de Jean-Pierre Arroyo Bernaza, que ingrese en la camilla.
No, fue una entrada terrible. Una entrada descomunal de parte de Brian.
Okay, so that's all we'll play. That's all we'll play. If people want to go ahead and watch it again, just replay the first 2 seconds of this video. But yeah, that's career-injuring tackle. Let's be frank, Jose. That is a career-ending tackle. It's ridiculous. I don't know how strict they are in Ecuador with handing out suspensions, but that's something that should be 10-plus games easily. There is no reason that you make that type of tackle. You don't come close to getting the ball whatsoever. You're literally making that tackle to injure your opponent. That is sickening. I mean, there's a lot of words to use, but I'll just leave it at sickening. I don't know. It makes me mad. Like, I love a good hard tackle, but when you're literally tackling somebody to injure them, suspend them from playing soccer. Like, 10 games isn't enough. Suspend them for a year. That's a terrible tackle.
Yeah, not good.
One more, please. A third one.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah, that's it. We got to put reverb on that thing. You got to, what's it called? We got to T-Paint it. We got to put that through the T-Paint algorithm.
I'll work on that.
Yeah. No, that was a terrible tackle. Listen, I know we're closing down the show, but I think by the looks of my phone, I think we talked enough shit today. 12 unread messages just from us talking in front. So, listen, I was listening to a different podcast, and this is my closing comment. I know we got to get going. We straddle a really interesting line, Todd, because we are press, but we also care deeply about this club, and we also care about the sport. We care about the fan base, and we want to be a bridge between the club in a way, and in terms of information in a healthy way. We've never taken and will never take, I don't think, in my opinion, any type of ad money, or they've never guided onto what we can and can't say. But we do genuinely care about the sport here in Philadelphia and this team, since we've been around for it for quite some time now, whether we were, flat out fans or shifting away into maybe a more reporting professional side. That we're with you when it comes to, this is tough soccer to watch right now, for sure. Totally get that. So I guess I would just leave it at, we're also watching the same soccer you're watching. We're trying our best to ask the questions that we can and make sense to ask without burning bridges or doing damage, period. So just keep that in mind when you have criticism. And maybe a different blunder of the week could have been a certain article that came out of San Jose with in terms of a match preview that was botched and corrected, neither here or there. But know that folks like Todd, Mike Barrera, myself, the one team we agree on, et cetera, we're here to inform you the best as we can, and even during the tough times of a season. I mean, God, we talked through all of 2024, so I think we can really talk through anything.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we see that all the time in our content. When the Union are losing, we don't get as much interactions in the goal breakdown videos. I mean, those are tough to make, and that will probably be out at some point late Monday, and there isn't much to break down, I do realize. And at times, too, it feels like, hey, what's the point of making these videos when people don't really want to watch them when the Union are losing? And it's the same, right? I mean, listeners don't really come in droves when the Union are losing. You see it in the articles that you write, that the viewership isn't really there. And so, yeah, I mean, everybody struggles when the Union are losing. And it's easy, right, to have a hot take and go with the typical grain on social media where everybody's just dunking and saying how horrible the Union are, how horrible ownership is, blah, blah, blah. And I would like to say, I don't think Jose and I are talking pieces for the club. Like, we don't work for the club at all. And yeah, Jose does work for the league, writes for the league, but when there needs to be criticism, we give criticism. When there needs to be praise, there needs to be praise. And I don't think that there's a point where it needs to be all negativity, where it needs to be all criticism. I don't think we're at that level yet. So yeah, I agree with everything that you said, Jose. And so we can go ahead and end it there and hopefully have a smoother ending to the show than we did a beginning of the show. So where can people find you on social media?
At Jose R. Nunes 91. I don't know what happened. I haven't been keeping up with the world of everything, but very a very big amount of people, I should say, I don't know, where it's just following me on Blue Sky. So I don't know what happened on Twitterverse today that suddenly I got a whole bunch of people suddenly following me on there. But I'm there, just a similar handle. You can find me, or just whatever, some of these content packs, I think they call them. I'm in one of those. So just keep on adding people for soccer related packs. But just right now, just league work on the weekends. And I got to start thinking about interview schedule. I'm thinking that the fans and I would like to hear from Agustin Anello, whether it's in Spanish or English. I'm eager to hear from him and a little bit more about his story.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jose. And if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod. We rate your podcast, The Free Kick. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel live, every single podcast, youtube.com/freekickpod. And you can go ahead and check out the goals breakdown videos there. And if you guys want to check out the podcast goals breakdown videos or my writing all in one place, thefreekick.substack.com. And yeah, we appreciate you guys sticking with us for almost an hour, 20 minutes for a loss. And you guys definitely showed out in the comment section. So we appreciate it. Hopefully we have better news on Tuesday. I don't know what the podcast schedule looks like, in all honesty, for this week, just with a quick game on Tuesday. And then I know we typically do the podcast a day after the game. And then the Union obviously have a game on Saturday against Atlanta, and it's Jose's son's birthday. So I don't know what the podcast looks like. Do we go this long? Maybe not. If we do a podcast or two this week, I don't know. Definitely not an hour 20. So we'll have some kind of content out for you guys during the week, but how long the podcast will be, not too sure. So hour 18 minutes in, we appreciate you guys for joining us tonight. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.